Welcome into another edition of the Movie Geek Podcast. As always, I'm your host, George T. And for those of you who watch or have been watching on YouTube, you'll notice that the production value has gone straight up for Spotify and other affiliates who are listening. I want to thank you guys for listening to the audio parts. Obviously, we'll not get the visual parts. This YouTube thing has been really working out well with this new computer, so it's been great, especially if you got to catch the Hard Eyes one that Ashley and I did last week as my special guest, and then our little special guest afterwards. And no, it was not AJ, it was our little friend, four-legged friend, Jazzy, who started to destroy the place, and we had to end it a little quick. But um, let us talk about the end of the award show season, basically the Oscars and the Razzies. But first, let me go through what we're going to go through on this episode. We're going to go through the winners of what I chose for. We'll go over some Oscar facts. And some controversy we'll address, and then my take on 2024 movies as far as whether I thought this was a good year or not for movies. So let's begin with the Razzies again. Yeah, there were so many bad films, and I was definitely wrong about a few predictions that I had. Let's go through the predictions as we look at it. So, worst screenplay went to Madam Web. I did pick that one as my winner. Again, I want to say this again. Sony needs to get rid of the Marvel movies. Just get rid of the characters. Give them back to Marvel. Enough said on that. So interesting. The next two was Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga as the worst on-screen combo. Not really sure about that. I'm not sure what went into that because with Borderlands and Madam Web in this category, like and Megalopolis, I don't know, but what am I to know? Joker Part 2 won worst prequel, remake, ripoff, or sequel. As much as I hate DC, this isn't part of the DC universe, but I also don't think it was the worst because Madam Web or Craven should have won it. Just throwing it out there because again, I hate you, Sony. Worst supporting actress was Amy Schumer on Unfrosted. Okay, I know a lot of people hate Amy Schumer. I at times don't think she was is that funny. But in this situation, I don't think she was the worst supporting actress. There's so many other people in this category that should have won that award. Jon Voight, I know I didn't pick him. He was up for literally 4 movies this year, and they voted worst supporting actor. Maybe it's just time for Jon Voight to not do any more films. Maybe. I mean, he was in 4 films, and literally the Razzies just threw him in as worst supporting actor for all 4. And I don't know, that maybe just seems to be like, hey, John, maybe hang it up. Great actor, though. He has done some amazing roles, but being nominated 4 times in one category, it's just crazy to me. Then we go to worst actor. Jerry Seinfeld for Unfrosted. It's debatable. There's a lot worse performances out there. Amy Schumer's was really not that bad either. So again, maybe it was a bias toward Jerry Seinfeld because there are some people that don't like Jerry Seinfeld. It's just what it is. Unfrosted, I thought was a pretty decent movie. I actually liked that movie. It wasn't nominated for Worst Picture, so it couldn't have been that bad. Dakota Johnson win for Worst Actress. Again, Madam Web, absolutely horrendous movie. However, I don't think she was that bad. I think it's just the movie was that bad because Jennifer Lopez was worse in Atlas. I'm just saying. But, when you're wrong, you're wrong. Finally, worst movie of the year was Madam Web. Sony did it again. Like, you did it again. God. Okay, I won't beat that dead horse again. But we'll go to worst director. And it goes to Francis Ford Coppola for Megalopolis. Okay, the movie bombed. I get it. But he's really not that bad a director. He's won Academy Awards before. And there were worse. But again, Madam Web's director doesn't win worst director. Borderlands director doesn't win because Borderlands got a 0 Rotten Tomatoes. 0. Madam Web at least got a few Rotten Tomatoes. But Francis Ford Coppola took to Twitter or Instagram. I don't know where this was, but I'm going to read this. So he took to social media. I am thrilled to accept the Razzie Award in so many important categories for Megalopolis film. At the time when so few have the courage to go against the prevailing trends of contemporary movie making. In this wreck of a world today, where art is given scores as if it were professional wrestling, which, by the way, professional wrestling does not have scorekeeping, by the way, Francis. It's amateur wrestling, but good call on that one. Do we have to talk about Elimination Chamber? No, okay, we're done with that. I choose not to follow the gutless rules laid down by an industry so terrified of risks that despite the enormous pool of young talent at its disposal, may not create pictures that will be relevant and alive in 50 years. It's not a bad observation. I mean, he's right. There's a lot worse things in the world. What an honor to stand alongside a great and courageous filmmaker like Jacques Tati, who improvisation himself completely to make one of cinema's most beloved failures, Playtime. My sincerest thanks to all my brilliant colleagues who joined me to work along this art of Megalopolis, and let us remind ourselves that box office is only about money, and like war, stupidity and politics have no true place in our future. Francis. Wow. I mean, he's got a point. A lot of people are making reboots or remakes or sequels or prequels of things that have already been out. We're doing live action versions of cartoons. We're doing live action of, just it. So Francis has a point. He is trying to make films that will, live on. I mean, he's done plenty of them. But I see his point. But Saria won a Razzie. It's unfortunate. But my final take on the Razzies. There were some worse films out there that probably should have got nominated. There's probably worse performances out there that got nominated. But again, everything that gets nominated, even for Oscars, is subjective. And that's why this year I didn't go all the way down the list for the Oscars. I kind of just stuck to the big ones because, again, you got costume design and editing and just there's a lot of visual effects or whatever. And it's subjective. Like, for instance, visual effects. Dune 2. amazing, amazing movie as far as visual effects. So I would have probably picked that, and it did win. But if you look at the set designs for Wicked and even Alien Romulus, where you're in one central location, again, it becomes subjective. You know, I may like something, you actually might like something else. So that's why I didn't really go with that. And I stuck to the bigger categories this year. And I must say, I was only wrong in two of them. So, and I will get through all of that. So, Anora was the big winner of the night. And as the night was going on, the big budgeted films were getting most of the big stuff, like costume designs and so on and so forth. But a lot of the individual stuff, like the little stuff, was going to the independents. And you will notice that a lot of independents won the night. And I think that's amazing for the movie industry when, yes, we love the big blockbusters. We love the big budgeted sci-fis. We love watching films on movie screens. Again, it needs to be, we need to go back to the movies. We need to stop streaming, you know, right away, or waiting for it to stream, or being on video on demand. We need to go back to the theaters. 2024 was kind of that resurgence, but 2025 needs to be a continuation of it. But best adopted screenplay was Conclave. I had that one. Of the adapted ones, it just seemed like a logical choice because it was so well done. My big takeaway was the best animated film was Flow, the first small budgeted animation that beat out the big ones like Wild Robot, which had kind of dominated the animated scene. You also had Inside Out 2, which was kind of my favorite. Um, but I knew Wild Robot was getting all the hype. So Flow, being such an independent animated film, winning is huge. It was also the first ever Oscar win for Lafia. So congratulations to Lafia. Um, Best supporting actor and actress was a no-brainer. It had been that way throughout the awards season. Uh, Zoe Zeldan, so she played Gamora in Guardians of the Galaxy. Um, she also played Uhura in the new Star Trek movies, and so on. She's played so many great roles, and so she won for that. And Karen Culkin won for Best Supporting Actor for Real Pain. So imagine you're the little brother of Macaulay Culkin from the Home Alone series, and you're just cleaning up awards, just acting it out. And another independent film called um, Real Pain. Zoe in Emily Perez, and I'll get to Emily Perez's big flop, so to speak, here at the Oscars um, in a minute. Best Actor, Adrian Brody, who had the longest acceptance speech in Oscar history at 5 minutes and 45 seconds. He kind of rambled on about the political climate in the world, acceptance, and so on. But an amazing actor. It was the second one when most people were thinking it was going to be Timothy Chalamet. He's got a long way to go. Timothy is only, I think, 29. He'll get his chance. He'll get his chance. So that leaves us with a lot of the other categories, which is all Honor. So you had, and I only threw this in here afterwards because it goes with the director. So best editing, best director, Best Movie, and Best Screenplay was Sean Baker for Anora. Sean Baker did everything in this film. He is the heart and soul of the entire movie, basically. Independent of any of the big studios. He did his own editing, directing, writing, uh, probably costume design, everything else. He did it all. And it paid off with 6 nominations for Nora and 5 Academy Awards going to that movie. Because, in an upset, so to speak, because I think everybody, including myself, thought it was going to be Demi Moore for The Substance, was Mickey Madison. And don't get me wrong, she was really good in it. But we all thought it was Demi Moore's chance to, to shine. Mickey Madison, as a side note, the first scream killer to ever win an Academy Award. Yes, I know that seems weird and funny, but it is true. She was the annoying half of a pair of killers in Scream 5, where she got her face burnt off. That's where I knew her from. She's been in some other films as well, but uh, I was like, wow, that's a crazy fact. I saw that on iHorror, so you're welcome. Uh, but getting back to Sean Baker, I have not been real familiar with his work. He's only done 12 films, all as an independent. There is one film I did see. Starlet was one, I believe, 2012. So he's been around a long time, but he has not obviously done the mountainous amount of work, and that's because he's been an independent filmmaker for so long. He's probably had to work at all of his films. Again, he won 4 Academy Awards. One for editing, one for directing, one for screenplay. That's got to take time, and it's so great to see that this guy did it all, and he got paid off for it. you know, um, and it just kind of goes in the face of the big, the big blockbusters, the big budgeted films, the studios pumping in the advertising and revenue money. So again, Sean Baker, congratulations on your 4 Academy Awards and Honora winning 5 of your 6 nominated. I mean, that's kind of incredible. So let us get back to at least Zoe. She was in Emily Perez, which at the beginning of the award season was the darling, the favorite, the uh, Oppenheimer of the movie scene from Netflix. But then all the controversy came out with the lead actress being um, you know with the racist tweets and so on, and there was a lot of other things said about the movie, and then there was another controversy about AI possibly have written some of the movie, and it just kind of snowballed from there. But at least Zoe winning Best Supporting Actress, she definitely deserved it. So as far as the wrap up to as the Oscars wrapped up, there was a lot of good jokes by Conan O'Brien. He also brought out the LA firefighters to do some of his written jokes. I thought it was overall well. The total awards won during the award season, and Honora pulled that out. 109 awards won between all of the award shows, starting in January and ending with the Oscars. The Substance and The Brutalist tied at 106. And then Dune Part 2 won 81, and Wild Robot won 76. So again, look at Wild Robot, 76 total awards. Didn't win, but Flo did. Dune Part 2, 81. Look, good movie, but I just don't think it was worthy enough for an Oscar or Best Picture nomination. Brutalist, Substance, and Anora. Again, I thought maybe Brutalist had a shot, an outside shot of beating Anora for Best Picture. Didn't work out. Substance, not as overly panned uh, in that category for Best Picture, but Demi Moore's um, loss to Mickey Madison has been talked about, and uh, there's some reports out there that Demi was really upset about it. I get it, and I know winning an Oscar is everything to a lot of actors and actresses. I get it. So if she was upset, yeah, she probably had a right to be upset. But she won a lot of awards during the award season, so it's not the worst thing in the world. I guess. I don't know. So I haven't been in that situation. Oh. Also, the here's a little fun fact for you, as I'm a huge sports fan and a movie geek. ESPN had put out a list of athletes who turned actors who have won Academy Awards. So let's take a look at this. So Matthew Cherry, I know a lot of people probably don't recognize that name. He played college football at Akron. He won Best Animated Short Film for Hair Love. Did not know that. I don't actually know who he is. And then there's going to be some people you know on this list, like Forrest Whitaker, for example. He played at Cal State Poly, and he won his Best Actor award for Last Kings of Scotland. An amazing movie. An amazing movie. Another person you may know, Mushala Ali, who is supposed to be the new Blade, if that ever gets off the ground. But he played basketball at St. Mary's College. He won Best Supporting Actor twice, once for Moonlight and once for Green Book. So, and both of those movies are so good. If you haven't seen them, you got to see them. They're really good. And then Kobe Bryant played for the Lakers. He won animated short film for his movie Dear Basketball. A name you might not or didn't know played football. Tommy Lee Jones played for Harvard University. He won Best Supporting Actor for The Fugitive. Oh, amazing movie. He and Harrison Ford. You had Joe Pantoliano. So you had a really good cast in that. It was a really good movie. And finally, Denzel Washington. Yes, Denzel Washington. He played for the Fordham Rams. He was a basketball player. He won a Best Supporting Actor for Glory and Best Actor for Training Day. Training Day, an amazing film. He and Ethan Hawke were amazing. It's one of the more quoted movies for his King Kong Ain't Got on Me. And, everybody has, equated that film. But Glory, if you're not familiar with it, it is based on the true story of African American Army group for the Union back in the Civil War days. Here in Massachusetts, the 54th Regiment, and Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman. You had Carrie Elways, you had Matthew Broderick. Their last one was the attack on Fort Sumter down in the Carolinas, and it is a very powerful movie. And of course, it has Massachusetts history. So if you haven't seen it, you probably should. All right. So every year they do the in memoriam for those who have passed away in the film industry. Now, we understand that the film industry is a very large community, and so they probably leave a lot of people out for whatever reasons. But they do list them all on their webpage and so on. But there was outrage again this year because some big names were left off the list again. So, there's just so much going on at the Oscars that there isn't enough time. I mean, you could do the entire in memoriam, and it might take longer for the show to go on. And the show is long enough as it is. I mean, it's 4 to 5 hours long. I know they've tried to shorten it every single year, but it just seems to drag out and drag out every year. But so Gene Hackman was put in there, even though he was discovered a day before the Oscars. But people and this is where the controversy comes in. Michelle Trachtenberg had died on Wednesday, but had been left off the in memoriam trailer that they ran. Some other names that were in there that I found very interesting: Tony Todd, Candyman, the original Candyman, and from other movies. Martin Mull, um, very funny comedian. He was in Mr. Mom and Clue. Those two movies were amazing. He was in a lot of other films as well, and I think a few TV shows as well. But again, he was left off. Olivia Hussey was originally in uh, Romeo and Juliet. And then you've got filmmaker Morgan Spurlock, who was the man who ate McDonald's for a whole year and lived to tell about it. So, again, in memoriam, I know there's so many names that you go through it. Ashley was sitting here with me watching it, and she's like, wow, there's so many people that work in the industry. Well, yeah, because anybody who worked in the industry becomes a part of that community and so on. So there's probably 100 names that they have to go through, every year. So I get it that people were upset about Michelle Trachtenberg. Some people were upset about Tony Todd not being in there, especially the horror community. So, and then somebody had mentioned Morgan Spurlock as well because he was a filmmaker. He was an independent filmmaker. He was a documentarian. So, again, I know that whole thing is subjective, I guess. The biggest takeaway, though, for me is that, and I had said this in the preview show, I thought this was a really good year for the movies, the movie industry itself. But I felt like, this is why I didn't really spend a whole lot of time, watching some of the other stuff this year, is because this year's Oscar run was um, was not as good as in years past. Like last year, you had your Oppenheimer, you had your Barbie, you know, weekend stuff, and oh, Barbie got left off of this one and this one, but Oppenheimer wins all the big awards. Yes, you need those give and takes with movies. Movies people love. Oh, it was left off the Oscar list, and I will die on this hill. But my number one film after seeing all these is still and will be Civil War. Sorry, it just Anora was good. A lot of these movies were good, but Civil War still should have been nominated. It wasn't even nominated for any 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 awards. It's a shame. It's a shame. I don't know why it was not nominated for anything, but it's a shame. I will die on that hill. Just saying. I'm hoping 2025 will be different. We're going to see a lot more independent films probably getting love, and maybe the big blockbusters won't get as much love this year, and that's fine. because the movie industry is starting to realize that uh, independent filmmakers are just as important as the big, big studio, you know, big, big action, you know, big budgeted films. And again, we need to see probably more of that. So this year, uh, I'll make a more conscious effort to give a rundown of, as I'm going through movies in 2025, like a better idea of who should win awards and so on. Like, there's a few movies that I saw last year that should have gotten nominated for something. You had Amazon Prime's A Ricky Stenicki, which was, I think, one of the best comedies of the year. Did not get nominated in the comedy uh, categories for some of the award shows. Why? Because it was on Amazon. Uh, I don't know, but I thought that was one of the funnier films. Hitman was another one from Netflix. So you can't tell me that Amelia Perez was going to be the lead frontrunner for the Oscars, but then smaller movies like Hitman can't get nominated on some of these other award shows. Um, let's see. Obviously, Deadpool and Wolverine um, was the big blockbuster winner of the year. It made so much money um, as an R-rated film. Obviously, the animated movies won a lot of money, and again, Flow wins the Academy Award, a small independent film. So, which is on HBO Max. If you guys have not seen it, so definitely check it out. So, with that being said, what is 2025 going to look like? So far, uh, again, looks like a lot of remakes, reboots, sequels, and so on. And I think the Academy is starting to notice that the independent filmmakers are trying to make strides in going to Netflix, going to Amazon Prime, Apple, wherever, Paramount, whatever they need to do. If they can't get it on the big screen or they're getting limited plays in theaters, they're getting their stuff out there. While you've got probably trash movies like Final Destination, Bloodline, again, a sequel that, or a reboot, or whatever it is, who wanted this? There's, and again, if you want to go back to the episode 1, where I had the top 25, the movies of 2025, where I had the movies I didn't know you wanted to see, the movies I'm looking forward to seeing, but could be in that category, could be in most anticipated, and of course, the anticipated. Because again, the lineup of movies so far that have been listed, there's a lot of junk. There's a lot of junk. And I think Hollywood is running out of ideas. Again, I'll have a show coming up soon with some of the news. We've got movies that are being talked about coming out, um, and TV reboots. Bringing back casts from 20, 25 years ago to reboot shows. It's just we need some originality. We need more, and I I don't know. I'm just hoping that this year's 2025 movies are decent enough to where when we get to Oscar season next year, there's going to be that, all right, who's going to win? Because this year it was hard because, again, with the movies I mentioned, with 100, Anora with 109 awards, and then you got Brutalist and uh, The Substance winning 106. That means the Academy had a hard time deciding because some award shows like this movie and some award shows like that movie and some award shows like this person and that person. It wasn't like before, where you had your front runners and then you had dark horses. This year it was so wide open, there wasn't a favorite or a dark horse, except in the supporting actor roles. Just was. Okay, that is all. So I hope you enjoyed this. And again, I only got 2 wrong out of my Oscar picks. The Razzies, I kind of just brush off because, again, everybody has a subjective view of what's terrible, and the Marvel movie should have just cleared everything out. And yes, because you suck, Sony. You got to get rid of your franchise. I did finally get to see Venom, The Last Dance. George was sitting here with me, and we watched it, and we got through it. You basically killed off a really interesting character in Venom by doing what you did. And I think it's awful that you have had a vision of what you wanted to do, and then you stopped it, redid it, and then came up with some of the worst movies after that. Go back and listen to season 1, the Marvel ones. I did the history of them and so on. Okay, I've run long enough. I want to thank everyone for listening, and if you're watching on YouTube, I am appreciative. And like I said, the production value has gone up. I hope that you've noticed. Leave a comment for anything. So if you're on Spotify or one of the other ones, leave a comment of what you thought of the Oscars, what you thought was your best picture that you saw 2024, or you disagree with any of the takes that I have, or anything. I would like to interact with you. YouTube, same thing. If you have a comment about any movie, or anything that I have said about the industry, about anything, please leave a comment. I would love to interact with you on any of the platforms. I'm trying to grow this, so please interact. So one little final tidbit. I will be getting a hold of Jennifer Nagel, who was my one and only guest during season 1. I will finally have a camera to do interview with her and her friend Charlie. They have a podcast out right now. They are funny together, so I'm trying to get that loaded up. And then in the weeks to come, I'm going to try to do some shorts. I want to try and get some other guests on the show. I know this is going to be difficult with me not being a big name or a big show, but I really am hoping to do it. So anything you guys can help me out with would be amazing. Thank you all for listening, and I will see you guys at the movies.
You like that, baby? Let him know where I came from, yeah!
See you next time. Bye.
Waiting for you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Bye. Goodbye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
That's all, folks.